Now to see the new mental rate 3.8, let's scroll down the new features, the new string option. Okay, let's scroll down again under the me default option node, and let's see, contrast all. Here start the string option, the IBL environment lighting mode string option. Okay, this is the new features, the new 3.8 features. As you can see, start from remember, usually the numbering is not so important because it's depend how you create, if you create the string option by the Kobayashi script, or you will create, as I will show you in a minute from now, or you create it by hand, by copy the string option directly in the script editor. This scene that we are looking now is already with all the new mental ray 3.8 IBL, PR and erase string option are already created for you for the tutorial, but I will show you how to create this string option in the new scene, in the fresh new scene that we see before, by using the script editor panel. Okay, anyway, remember, usually the numbering is not so important, but they start usually after string option 27 usually. So let's see, start from string option 28 is the environment lighting mode, which enables the IBL environment lighting string option. Okay, in this case it's set to light. Later we will go back to the settings to see if you set it to approximate or to off. If you set to off, of course it's disabled. This is the quality, which increase the render time. By default is set to 0.2. Let's scroll down a little bit more. This is what that control this string option 30, number 30, which is the environment lighting shadow string option. It controls the appearance of the shadow, how shadow are computed. In this case, this is the better value. In this set to transparent means we'll compute the full ray tracing of the shadow, means the shadow will have also transparency and will be not opaque. Scroll down a little bit more. This is the environment lighting scale. We will go back later to this one. By default is set to 0.318. Here there is an explanation that I will show you later made by Dagon, why it should be set to this value. Let's go down more. This is the approximate split. This controls how the environment lighting IBL string option lighting mode, okay, will be used if you if you set the environment lighting if you set the environment lighting mode to approximate, then you approximate, remember, is a way to use the IBL string option for preview only, not for final rendering. For final I suggest you to use the light mode, which enables the IBL environment lighting mode and feature, of course, and is for final resolution, means for final rendering, for high quality rendering. Approximate is only for preview. Let's scroll down more. And here you control the various attributes if you use the approximate mode. We will see this later. Here other attributes. I will explain you later if there is time. I hope so. I really hope so. And this is the pattern if you use the approximate mode, but also with the light mode. Scatter, as we read before from the online help, it will render the image in a parallel set of block of pixels, okay? Or you can set it to sparse, will be much more random, okay, the block of pixels when the image is rendered. And let's go down more. Here are the important settings, okay? And this is the already start the progressive string options. As you can see, here is the minimal sample, which by default is set to 4. And in this case, for these scenes, which are the light Maya scene that I provide for this presentation, we set the maximum sample to the value 100, which is more than enough to have a good quality image rendered. And because these scenes, there is not many text, not elaborate shaders, so 100 will provide a good quality image. After the progressive rendering sampler will reach this value of samples rendered, it will stop. This is the very important string option, that you will always change the value depending on the scene that you're using. And here there is the string option 37, which is the progressive max time. Please remember that at least in my workflow, many guys, many power users use the max time to string option to interrupt the rendering, the progressive rendering, but I use mostly the max samples. It gives me more flexibility. Anyway, here is the value of the time to stop the progressive rendering is set to unlimited, to the value 0 by default. The time is set in seconds, as you can check from the mental ray documentation, you see. Minimum sample, max time, seconds, you see. Set the time in seconds when to stop progressive rendering and array. The default is unlimited, and if progressive rendering has run the given numbers of seconds, then it will stop automatically. Back to the scene. Let's scroll down more, and here comes the error threshold that I showed you before, which is the equivalent value, which when you use the progressive rendering sampler, rendering mode, is the equivalent value of the value that we saw before under the render settings quality tab. You remember this one? If you decrease this value, when you use the adaptive mental ray adaptive sampling mode, the quality of the image will increase and the contrast as well, but sadly also the rendering time. But if you decrease, correct? If you increase, it will have less contrast, the image, less quality, but the render time will be less. And this is the equivalent when you use the string progressive rendering string options, okay? The equivalent value attribute. Let's scroll down a little bit more, and under the final gather normal tolerance, there is the string option that actually enables or disables the progressive rendering. In this case, for all the scenes that come with the tutorial, is set to true because we use the progressive rendering. So let's go down a little bit more. These are the other attributes that I showed you before. You can set to detail, sparse, or whatever, like we see before, and it just controls how the blocks of pixel are rendered. And the last string option is the array one, which by default is set to false, means the array render engine is not enabled, because with the sum of the scene that I provide in the tutorial, we use the IBL and the PR, the IBL environment lighting feature and the progressive rendering sampler, and so I don't need to use the array. But with other scene that comes with the tutorial, example, let's see, should be the third one, should be this one. Let's see, 1 second. Let's select the quick selection set. Here appears the Mi default option node. As you can see from the name, this scene that I prepared for this masterclass is called masterclass array, because in this one we use the array, and later I will show you. Scroll down to the string option section, and scroll down to the last string option, that is the array one, and here is set to on. As you see before from the other scene, this one is set to false, and the Boolean value false and true or on and off are equivalent, so use what you prefer. By default is set to off and on, but I use also false and true, so it's up to you. A quick note on the hardware texturing, because from the masterclass array scene you will see that on the board, on the chalkboard, the writing is very clear, means the hardware texturing is good. And when I switch to the masterclass strings scene, you will see that everything is blur, the hardware texturing is blur. This is a basic thing, but actually I will just remind you, just so select the middle panel or any panel you want in the scene of the chalkboard, and scroll to the attribute editor, and you will see, select the material that is applied to this panel of the chalkboard, and scroll down to the hardware texturing section. This is the hardware texturing section, which is set to default, the texture resolution. So you just go to high or highest, depend on the video card, the display adapter you have, and how many RAM and GPU power you get. Anyway, let's try. You see, now it's very sharp. Do the same for this one, for this panel, highest, and do it for this one as well. Just to see in the viewport, in the main Maya viewport, to see the text. I guess they are not supported, and so I guess we'll turn to a pink color. Let's try. Okay, this is the, if you this is the viewport, correct? And this is the viewport menu, toolbar, let's call it toolbar. If you open the render drop-down menu, you see that now we are with the default quality rendering preview. If you switch to high quality, it turns black, I guess because we are using Mia Material Match Viewport Lights, Transparent Shadow Map. I guess that is just the material we are using in this scene is not support, even in the high quality render, or maybe my video card, my display adapter is not good enough. Let's try to switch to viewport 2, but before to switch, check the small square box to see the option. Consolidate word, allow transparency object consolidation, allow instanced object consolidation, force reuse triangle. This is all option for the main preview of the text and the material in the main viewport. Anyway, let's see what happened. Apply. It turned to a pink color because we are using Mia Material, which seems to be not supported by the viewport 2.0. So let's check again the PDF, what from the main online help. Here say all the features supported. here suggests to, for best performance and scalability, switch to Viewport 2 without enabling texturing or shading in any of the other workspace modes. What we just did before, correct? So, and they suggest you should work with only one workspace panel displayed in Viewport 2 and avoid switching between workspace modes. I guess I did already, so it turned pink. Let's see. Here they just say this. If an object does not have a shader assigned or is assigned a shader that is not currently supported, the object appears shaded in the scene view, in the viewport, with a bright pink color. Scroll down a little bit more and yeah, it's happened also to me in the tutorial, you see. Pink color is about the material that you use and the which are not supported, so you get the bright pink color. So we just switch back to the default quality rendering, which works good enough for us.